Hello kind people of YouTube and welcome back to another video. Today as always we have a lot of stories to get through and we're gonna start with them in 1 second. I just wanna apologize in advance in case I start coughing or making any weird sounds or sniffling in this video. It's very cold and the common cold is going around and I have managed to catch myself a very light case of it. Don't think it will be too much of a problem, but if anything happens, sorry about that. And if you hear me drinking, I have some hot tea next to me. But let's jump into the first story, shall we? And that is the almost the knowledge that Bakkt is going to be pushed back. Now, we don't have any definitive statements until when, and it seems to only be a few days, but let's look at the article, because of course the launch of Bakkt is what a lot of people think could be one of the potential catalysts of launching the next crypto bull market. And so far we've expected it on January 24th. That seems unlikely to happen now. Intercontinental Exchange, the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange, is likely to delay the launch of Bakkt, its Bitcoin futures trading and custody platform, a second time, CoinDesk has learned. The company last set January 24th as the launch date. However, ICE has yet to receive the necessary approvals from the US Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, and at the pace the agency has been moving, it is unlikely that approvals will be secured in time to hit that target. To be clear, that does not mean the CFTC won't ultimately approve the plan. A person familiar with the agency's inner workings said even a January 30th launch was still possible, meaning the delay could be just a matter of days. Specifically, the CFTC must grant an exemption for Bakkt's plan to custody Bitcoin on behalf of its clients in its own warehouse, according to sources familiar with regulatory discussions of the plan. CFTC regulations normally require that customer funds be held by a bank, trust company, or futures commission merchant. The agency staff has finished reviewing Bakkt's exemption request and passed it to the commission on Friday, one source said. Now the commissioners have to vote on whether to put out the proposal for public comment. After the 30-day comment period, the commissioners would likely take at least a couple days to read the comments and then vote on the proposal itself. But here's the deal, Monday and Tuesday are now federal employee holidays. So unless those government officials decide to work on their days off, the earliest the commissioners are likely to vote on a public comment period and thereby start the 30-day clock is Wednesday, December 26th. That already would push any final vote past Bakkt's January 24th launch date, even without taking into account the time needed to read the public comments. The possibility of a US government shutdown threatens to further delay the process. So what do we have going on here? Essentially, Bakkt still needs some regulatory go-ahead to be able to fully launch, and that is projected to take at the bare minimum 30 days, because the commission is likely to put it out for public comment. In which case, if that happens, I will let you guys know, because the more people leave positive comments, asking them to approve this, the more likely it is it will be approved. So if this does happen, I will tell you guys, and hopefully you can leave comments. I will definitely do that. But that comment period is 30 full days, and even if you're going from today, 30 full days would get really close to the 24th of January, where they wanted to originally launch. Now, with the holidays first, and then the fact that after those 30 days, it is almost certain that it will take a couple days for them to actually review all those comments, a January 24th launch date looks unlikely. But everyone seems hopeful that we're going to see a launch between like the 29th of January and the first couple days of February. So it should still be more or less on track for the same time, and we have little reason to believe that this will be rejected, because their futures are very different from the ones currently on the market and are much less prone to manipulation and to messing with the markets. And that is one of the reasons why so many people think it could start the process of causing the next bull run, because these are not going to be as dangerous, as potentially dangerous for the crypto markets as traditional futures, as the futures we have seen so far, as the other futures that are currently being considered by the SEC. And also these of course have the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange behind them, and the New York Stock Exchange, hugely influential, so they know all the people, they have all the connections to make this happen. So I personally think there's a lot to look forward to, and we'll figure out exactly when this will happen. The date does keep getting pushed back, but you have to keep in mind here, governments and regulatory bodies are slow. They are incredibly slow. They are always slow. They are always slower than they're supposed to be. And Bakkt itself can't really do anything about this. So all we can do here is wait. But while we're waiting, let's talk about how fantastic Ripple is. Because don't we do that almost every day? We have some comments here from someone representing a company that recently started using their software, their products. As the cryptocurrency market continues to run the bull marathon, the worldwide adoption aspect of the blockchain space has also become exponentially promising in recent times. One of the biggest contributors that have worked towards crypto adoption is Ripple, pushing XRP forward by utilizing it through the services provided by RippleNet. Cebuana Lulier, I probably terribly mispronounced that, is one such player in the industry that has now decided to use RippleNet products to advance its services technologically. It is a Philippine-based pawn shop and the signature brand of PG Lulier group of companies. Recently, Ripple also released its report of all the breakthroughs in 2018. Here, the company displayed its focus on adoption, markets, and the regulatory framework. The executives of Ripple believe that the ASEAN region has progressed and is way ahead of the regulatory bodies in the USA in terms of regulatory clarity towards the cryptocurrency and blockchain space. Definitely. After partnering with Ripple, Cebuana Lulier has become the first player in the microfinancial service sector to use the blockchain technology in its services. Jean-Henri Lulier, I assume that is how it's pronounced, could be Jean. The chief executive officer and president of the company also commented on the company's move to partner with Ripple. He said, "Using xCurrent will improve efficiency on how we provide services to our clients. This will also highlight our commitment to further innovate and evolve, true to our reputation as best in class in our industry." Now, why does this matter and why is this interesting? Because a lot of you guys are already going to see xCurrent and you're already going to be saying again that this doesn't matter, that this isn't the XRP token. Let me talk for a moment. First of all, this matters because this is Ripple breaking into a new market that they haven't previously been in with their products. So they are opening up an entirely new market and advancing into that. And you might still wonder, why does this matter? Because it isn't necessarily using the XRP token. This is not xRapid. It matters because, as I said many times in my other videos, Ripple has a business plan, and that plan is clear. They want to get as many companies, banks, payment providers, payment facilitators, software producers, anything, into their ecosystem. What they're doing is similar to, say, what Apple is doing with their products. They want you to get into their ecosystem by buying an iPhone or a Mac. And then once you're in that ecosystem, you are incredibly likely to use other products from that ecosystem. You are likely to remain in that ecosystem long term. Once you have an iPhone, you are much more likely to also buy an iMac or a MacBook. Once you have those two, you are incredibly likely to buy your music from iTunes or to get Apple Music, and so on. And Ripple is doing something similar. They are getting companies to start using their technologies, any of their technologies. Usually that means xCurrent. And what they're ultimately doing here is they're getting all of these companies into their ecosystem. And then they can work on migrating them over one by one to using the XRP token, to using xRapid. Because xRapid has serious advantages over xCurrent. It is more efficient and has additional features that xCurrent does not have. And of course, with XRP as the remittance currency, you are cutting out the middleman, you are getting rid of the annoying Nostro and Vostro accounts that banks have to use currently, in favor of one quick, easy, simplified solution that will save trillions of dollars ultimately. So what they're doing here, getting a bunch of companies, a bunch of banks, a bunch of payment facilitators, a bunch of smaller companies from all kinds of countries and industries into the ecosystem. And they are building that ecosystem. It is becoming huge. There are so many companies involved with Ripple now, and we're seeing new announcements almost every single day. So they're continuing to grow that. They're continuing to grow RippleNet. And RippleNet has xRapid, has xVia, has xCurrent, all integrated, all compatible with each other, all easily usable. So once they have all these companies in there, the next step is to make them see how good the xCurrent technology is. And once they've used that for a couple of months or a couple of years and are happy, they can be migrated over to the even more efficient and superior xRapid platform, which currently is still scary to a lot of companies because it's still relatively untested. It has just launched 2 months ago. We will see more adoption of that in the future. There are also still some regulatory issues to get through. But ultimately, any news like this that might on the surface not sound like it has anything to do with XRP is ultimately good for XRP. because it is further developing the Ripple ecosystem, which includes XRP and which will ultimately also benefit XRP, and it makes sure that Ripple as a company has more reach and has more funding. And where do you think that funding is going? That funding is going to developing and pushing XRP. And that is why these news matter. And why the moment someone tells you, well, this is just XCoin, this doesn't matter, no, they're not very well informed. They're not looking at the bigger picture. Let's continue on with the bigger picture for dApps. We have some news about how many dApps are available on TRON now, and it's a pretty impressive number. So let's talk about it. There's also some comparisons to Ethereum and EOS in there. So interesting article here. On Thursday, Justin Sun, the founder of TRON, said that the network supports more than 50 dApps and is on track to reach 80 dApps in the short term. And this is his tweet. TRON now has more than 50 dApps, 80 plus, we are coming. The statement of Sun follows a major milestone achieved by the blockchain network earlier this month, achieving 100 million transactions in 173 days. In August, Martin Koppelmann, the founder of Ethereum-based prediction market platform Gnosis, said that the important statistic to reference in measuring the rate of growth of a smart contract protocol is the usage of dApps and the number of dApps that interact with each other. He said, the numbers we care about is the usage of decentralized applications. So you see the difference here. He's not talking about the number of decentralized applications. He is talking about how many users they actually have. And as a next step, the number to look out for is dApps that seamlessly interact with each other and draw a benefit from being on the same platform. This is a lot harder to quantify. As a side effect, ultimately the price of Ether will then be a function of the demand for the use of applications in this reliable, open and interlinked environment. So very clear he was talking specifically about Ether here, but we can transfer this over to any platform for dApps. Like Ethereum, TRON is a smart contract protocol and its value comes from its ecosystem of dApps and active users. According to dApp Radar, a platform that provides data on the dApp usage of major smart contract protocols, the top 3 dApps on TRON have 2,300 users on average, with TRON Bet recording 2,500 active users and 2 million transactions a day. That transaction number is actually quite impressive. In contrast, Ethereum's top 3 apps have 700 users on average, with IDX, Fork Delta and MyCryptoHeroes ranking as the network's 3 biggest dApps. EOS, the second most valuable smart contract protocol, has the highest number of dApp users on its protocol. PRA Candybox, EOS Knights and EOS Bet have nearly 5,000 users on average, more than the dApp users of TRON and Ethereum combined. And we don't really need the rest of this article, but we are seeing here that on the TRON platform a lot of development is indeed happening. Now 50 dApps, that doesn't sound like that much, but in the dApp space, which is still very young, which is still actively developing, which is in its infancy, having over 50 dApps, soon to be allegedly over 80 on your platform, that is a step in the right direction. That is a good basic number. At that point, you will have a lot of types of app represented. They might not all be good apps, they might not all have many active users, but at least they are there. As we're seeing from the numbers here, even on the most successful platform in terms of active users, EOS, the most successful dApps have 5,000 users on average. That, in the space of traditional applications, is absolutely nothing. But in the space of dApps, that is big. That is a big number. Most dApps have a couple dozen active users at best. Because, like I said, very young, immature market. A lot of people don't know what dApps are. A lot of people find dApps a bit too complicated to get in right now. But this market will grow in the future. And we're seeing here that TRON is currently positioning itself as a more, I'm sorry, I can't think of the word right now, attractive. As a more attractive platform in comparison to Ethereum. Now, this is something we've seen for a while now. We've seen a lot of dApps moving away from Ethereum, moving over to other platforms like EOS, like TRON. And we are probably going to see more of this in the future, not because Ethereum is bad, but because Ethereum has fallen behind a bit in the functions it offers. There's active work being done on Ethereum to offer these functions, but right now, TRON and EOS in particular are simply much more appealing to dApp developers, especially because of the lower or even non-existing fees, because if you're running a dApp, of course, that involves constant tiny transactions. You don't want to have to pay high fees for all of those, so the lower the fees, or if there can even be no fees at all, that makes it so much more attractive. You have to keep in mind someone has to pay these fees. It has to either be the dApp developer, in which case the dApps will likely either be paid software or have a ton of ads in them to be able to pay for that, or it has to be the end user. And most people do not want to use apps where they have to pay a fee for everything they do. It's okay in some areas, like betting. People are fine with paying a bit of a fee when they're betting. But in a lot of types of ads, that is not the kind of thing that people are willing to do. But ultimately what we're seeing here is that the dApp market is developing. It is still absolutely tiny, but it is getting bigger. 5,000 users a day, that is nothing compared to, say, a Candy Crush, which has millions of active users a day, or a Pokemon Go, or even just a major Twitter or a major banking app. But it's a start, and we've definitely gotten bigger. The space has gotten bigger. It doesn't really have a must-have dApp yet. That doesn't really exist yet. There is no product that will really push mainstream adoption of dApps right now. But as there is more development happening on dApp networks, as more dApps get released, as more developers start working on dApps, and as people figure out how to best use this completely new revolutionary type of app in the future, we will see a lot more development, we will see a lot more exciting stuff, and sooner or later we're going to see things that can only happen in the dApp space. And at some point, one of them is going to go mainstream, and it will catapult the entire dApp market into public consciousness. And it will catapult whichever cryptocurrency network that dApp is built on into public consciousness and raise up the price of that token like crazy as well. And essentially we're waiting for that. I don't expect it to happen in the next year or so, but in the long term we will see a lot of growth in this space. And right now, for as much as I've been critical of TRON, I've been critical of TRON many times, especially of Justin Sun as a person. As far as development on their platform goes, stuff is happening. Stuff is happening. Not nearly as many active users as EOS, but significantly more than Ethereum, and that means something. That means something. But talking about mainstream adoption, let's end the video with one more bittersweet story in that direction. Let's talk Comcast. I've never personally interacted with Comcast because I am not American, but Comcast is a massive, massive company in the US, and not one that is very highly respected. And they're now making a blockchain software publicly available next year. American global telecommunications conglomerate Comcast aims to make its blockchain initiative BlockGraph commercially available in 2019. Comcast is currently working with NBC Universal to test BlockGraph's capabilities, with plans of incorporating it into its addressable offering in early 2019. Comcast is a global media company founded in 2001 that provides cable television, internet, and telecom services. Comcast is purportedly the second largest broadcasting company in the world in terms of revenue and largest TV company in the United States. The company's consolidated revenue for the third quarter of 2018 was $22.1 billion. That is a lot of money. According to Comcast, its cable advertising division initiated the next phase of its BlockGraph platform, a product designed to secure personal data and share information, which will subsequently lead to the project's launch in 2019. Comcast is working on the project with other industry players like mass media conglomerate Viacom and advertising sales firm Spectrum Reach, among others. BlockGraph will purportedly provide an identity layer for the TV industry by means of which media companies can share non-identifiable audience data. The peer-to-peer platform aims to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of TV marketing and advertising. And we can pretty much stop reading here. The takeaway here is blockchain platform being pushed by one of the biggest media conglomerates in the world, who are pretty much controlling a lot of the internet and TV in the United States. Now, that in itself would be positive. That would mean a massive, massive, massive company is working on actively integrating blockchain technology into their services. What worries me about this is that as much as it says that this will be non-identifiable, and a lot of times data is claimed to be non-identifiable, but if it really is another question. What worries me about this is that it looks like a means of collecting even more data on people. And I don't think when you get a TV package or an internet connection, that should automatically opt you into your data being collected. Because you need these, well, you don't necessarily need TV, but nowadays, to be effectively involved in modern society, you need internet. And this is a company that is offering internet. And now they are working on yet another software product, a blockchain, that looks like it is designed to collect information, to further advertise on people, to build profiles about people's personalities, about people's activities and history and personal data. And as much as they're saying that it's non-identifiable, it's still troubling to me. And I like to see big companies getting into blockchain like this, But this to me screams misuse of blockchain. Now, who knows, it might really be completely anonymized, the data might really be impossible to match to any individual person, there might be nothing to worry about here. But until we know that for sure, I'm going to be worried. I don't like seeing cryptocurrency used in such manners that can go actively against the spirit of freedom that exists in the crypto culture. And which in some small ways, sometimes coins have to do it because they have specific use cases where they might have to limit like what freedoms you have on the blockchain, where they might have to centralize certain aspects of a blockchain. That is understandable. But this seems to be a blockchain that is entirely created to collect and save data in a way that is immutable, that can never be removed from it again. That is the scary thing. In a lot of ways, and especially depending on your country's jurisdiction on which laws they have. You can often petition companies to remove the data profiles and all the personal data that they have about you. Not always. And some of the really, really big companies don't make it possible at all. But sometimes data either gets deleted automatically after a while, or you can request your data be deleted and it will be deleted. Once it's on a blockchain, there's no way of that anymore. It can't be deleted. Unless they build in some kind of backdoor that they can actually delete something on a blockchain, in which case, what's the point of using a blockchain here in the first place? But this is troubling to me. I don't like this. I do not like this. And I mean, you guys can share your opinion. Maybe I'm overreacting here. Maybe I'm not getting what exactly they're trying to do here. But there's some stuff in here that's just troubling to me. And with that, I'm going to end today's video. As always, thank you so much for watching. All the links to the articles in the description. In the description, you will also find links to my social media pages. I have a Twitter and Facebook you can follow, as well as ways to support the channel monetarily if you feel so inclined. You can sign up for Binance and I'll get a tiny, tiny cut of your fees, no extra cost to you. You can get yourself a Ledger Nano S and I will get a cut of the profits. Once again, no extra cost for you. Links for that in the description. Also a Patreon and donation addresses. Any small amount is highly appreciated and I would very much appreciate anything that you might be able and willing to give. But if you can't or don't want to give me money, that is also perfectly acceptable. If you enjoy my content, I would just ask that you please take the 10 seconds to leave a like and leave a comment under my videos. It really, really, really helps. Honestly, guys, it helps so much. I've really seen the effect since I started asking you guys to leave more likes and comments, and so many of you have been doing it, so thanks so much for that. I will be back with another video tomorrow, as always, and have a wonderful weekend.